Hello, everybody. Welcome back to coverage of MXP LA. My name's Hayu. I'm here with Jason Yu. We are bringing you the Modern 20K event today at MXP LA. We are just about to go to round number 6 for your round 6 feature match. 8 rounds of Swiss being played today, Jason. 6-2 record to go into Sunday. I mean, I just saying those words makes me nostalgic for the GP era, so Wizards of the Coast, if you're listening to this. Think of this as a plea from the people, bring back the GP circuit. Okay, now that I've done my soapbox, Jason, round number 6. How are the players feeling as they get into the top end of today?
Gotta feel pretty good to have 4 wins by now. I only need 2 more wins out of the next 3 rounds, 6, 7, and 8. And here we have Bant Nadu versus Jeskai Null Drifter Control.
Yeah, we have Ting Feng Wang on Jeskai control. We just saw Bant Nadu earlier on in round number 5 just completely really go past Eldrazi Tron. Now, Jeskai control, this is a deck that maybe has a little bit more interaction here for what Nadu's doing.
So one thing I like to think of with regards to Nadu is that it is very much the best deck in the format, and fighting it is kind of like fighting an uphill battle. But Jeskai Control can keep up some amount because of the interaction suite available to it, right? Cards like Wrath of the Skies is extremely powerful against Nadu. You see that Urza Saga in play also gets swept up by Wrath. So even if even if the Jeskai control player were to cast Wrath for 0 right now, it would at the very least be a land destruction spell. And just a pile of interaction is just enough to almost keep up with Nadu. And honestly, it's a really close matchup, I think, depending on how the 2 decks are built.
All right, so we do have Ting Feng Wan on the Null Drifter version. So 3 Null Drifter, 3 Flage, 4 Dress Down in the main, 4 Leyline Binding. So it has some amount of Dress Down shenanigans available, has the big finishers in the form of Null Drifter and Flage, and has, of course, the suite of removal spells, 3 Wrath of the Skies, 4 Leyline Binding, the galvanic discharges, the counter spells, the cosmetics returns. We've been there, we've seen it, we know what it does. Will Kruger on Bant Nadu, very similar build to the one that Nam was playing just now. I believe though that Will is playing the Thassa's Oracle, so a bit of an extra win con for Will.
I think that Thassa's Oracle is in fact in hand right now, completely uncastable, but ready for whenever the game is about to end.
All right, so Will's got that one locked up, but has to figure out what he's going to be doing over this next turn or two. Springheart and Antuko came down on 2, and now we're going to see those insects start being made. We're going to see maybe some Nadu action, but first of all, we're going to see another copy of Urza's Saga, and that's going to be making the insect. And Jason, does Van have a backup plan?
There's not much of a backup plan. This is mostly just an all-in Nadu deck. And part of that all-inness involves playing a bunch of Urza Sagas early. So if we see a Wrath of the Skies here, that would be absolutely devastating. But really, Will is just looking to assemble Shugo plus Nadu as quickly as possible. Of course, there's up to 2 copies of Shugo in play right now. Both of those Urza Sagas could get Shugos, but no sign of Nadu and no sign of blue mana either. So of course, as we saw last match, there are ways around that.
Yeah, definitely. But for Tingfen, it's disaster time. No third land drop. Flage is going to get bin, so that's at least a nice one to have in the bin. But Tingfen's going to really, really be looking for the 3rd land. I think we did see some. I think I do see a copy of Wrath of the Skies, by the way, in hand.
Yeah, I mean, Wrath would be very impactful if it hits the stack. Unfortunately, no 3rd land, no 2nd white source going to need some good draws off the top of his deck to keep up here.
But he does have Dress Down in hand. So that's pretty interesting that if Nadu comes down, that there's some ability at least for Ting Fen to kind of hold it off for a turn.
Yeah, Dress Down, pretty good card against Nadu overall. Kills the Saga constructs incidentally, though that's not generally what you're using it for. Instead, it's really nice that you get to completely blank Nadu's ability for a turn, or perhaps even a full turn cycle if you flashed in on their end step, for example, or like on your end step. And then that leaves you free to just remove the Nadu with, say, a Galvanic Discharge without having to give your opponent a card, right? And also just like time lock your opponent a bit by like preventing them from comboing that turn. Nadu decks also generally don't have a main deck of removing a Dress Down that's currently in play, because any disenchants in the main deck are usually in the form of Haywire Might, which is notably a creature.
Right. But you know what's not a creature? Chord of Calling. That's going on the stack. Ting Fen Wan's looking at this Force of Negation in hand, thinking, I've got a ton of cards, and really, wow, it's going to be tune the narrative first. So draw a card, make some energy, and then
I suspect
there it is.
He just wanted to find more information about like what he wants to exile to this force.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. So Chord gets counted. That's going to go away. It does have a construct. It's a 2/2. It's getting in for 2. And Ting Fen really looking for the unwrap. There it is. Hallowed Fountain. And there's Wrath of the Skies. X equals 0, it looks like. I can pay any number of energy.
Yep.
And it's going to pay 2 energy. And everything is going. Everything is going away.
Yeah, here we see why Jeskai Control.
Oh my god!
does have a pretty okay Nadu matchup, because sometimes you get to do that. Your opponent puts a lot of permanents onto the battlefield, and then they all go into the graveyard.
Yeah, I take back what I said about permanents being hot right now. Wrath of the Skies. Yeah, that's not happening. Will has a delighted halfling. Was at least able to get some more mana going, but that's setting Will back a long way. And now let's see whether Ting Fen can do anything to kind of close this game out. I believe there was a Flage already in the graveyard, and is that Arena of Glory getting exerted there?
Yep, looks like it, and that's enough. I mean, very understandable.
Yeah, the Flage coming out the graveyard with haste. Will says, you know what? That's okay. Let's go to game number 2. And Wrath of the Skies, the MVP of that game number 1 for Ting Fen. I had a look at his tournament path until now, has already beaten Nadu once in the previous round. So he's going to be feeling pretty confident as he looks to the sideboard. Now, what can this Nadu deck do out of the sideboard?
Nadu deck has fewer options for Jeskai Control than many Nadu decks I've seen, but you still get some pretty powerful cards, like the One Ring. Obviously, one of the premier card draw engines in the format. Just a card that like some Jeskai Control decks have a hard time dealing with, and a card that you can like use to position the game where either your opponent has to answer your ring and is slowed down because of that, giving you times and windows to resolve your Nadu combo, or your opponent spends time answering your Nadu combo, and you just run them out of answers and then like play your ring and refill, and now your opponent can't possibly catch back up. So One Ring MVP in this matchup. In addition to that, a couple copies of Spell Pierce in order to prevent what just happened there with Wrath of the Skies, famously a non-creature spell. And perhaps Teferi and Vexing Bauble. I don't know. Will doesn't know exactly how many free spells Ting Fen has, but Vexing Bauble is an option I've seen many Nadu decks adopt in order to push through the combo through cards like Force of Negation, like we saw on that Chord of Calling, or Subtlety on Nadu.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely is an option for Will. I'm just have a look at Ting Pen. I mean, Will definitely at least saw the force of negation in that first game, right? So knows that there's some forces. This is closed deckless, so Will doesn't know if there are subtleties, doesn't know how many copies of force there are. We know that there are just two in the main deck for Ting Fen and no subtleties at all. And Ting Feng's sideboard having a look, couple more copies of Kozilek's Return, some Spell Snares, some Stony Silence, a Teferi, Consigned to Memory. Not a lot of like
Hollowed,
specific things.
I suspect Hollowed Moonlight will come in just as a card that answers Court of Calling, similar to how Containment Priest works, right?
Mm.
If your opponent chords and you Hollowed Moonlight in response, anything they find will be exiled. Oh,
Oh.
and speaking of chord, I forgot one very important sideboard card from the Nadu side. Sun Cleanser as a one of, mostly a chord target. Specifically
Mm.
shuts off quite a lot of the cards in Ting Feng's deck, and very specifically Wrath of the Skies. If you
Yeah.
can't gain energy and you don't have any energy, then Wrath of the Skies is going to. The only thing you can do is kill things that cost 0, which still has some text. But here we see the Sun
Wow.
Cleanser coming down.
Yeah, you don't even need to chord for it if you just draw it in your opening hand. Will Kruger with the hate piece on turn number 2. Sun Cleanser. The stonks on this card went up so fast, Jason, that
Yeah, I saw
when
that.
MH3 came out, it was wild to see. Will Kruger with Bant Nadu with the Sun Cleanser down, and that is going to be stopping Wrath of the Skies. But Ting Feng has plenty of answers to Sun Cleanser in the deck. Though I don't think he has one in hand right now. I take that back. There's a Leyline Binding.
Yeah, it's nice that against some builds of Jeskai control, Sun Cleanser is actually like really annoying for them to answer because like not everyone plays Leyline Binding, and if you don't play Leyline Binding, people are playing Galvanic Discharge, which notably uses energy, so can't kill Sun Cleanser. Wrath of the Skies, which can't kill Sun Cleanser. Flayed, which only deals 3 damage, so has a hard time killing Sun Cleanser.
Mm.
But Leyline Binding really helps in that respect. So we might see the Sun Cleanser actually removed this game, which will be nice for control.
By the way, Will played a Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth. So if you when we're talking about Leyline Binding, I mean that's gonna add a basic land type to Ting Fen's mana base for the binding. But Teferi's gonna come down first. Ting Fen doesn't respond. Gonna let that happen. And now is this Teferi more of an issue now than Sun Cleanser for Ting Fen?
It depends on Ting Feng's hand. Like if it's full of instant speed interaction, specifically, especially counter spells, then yeah, this Teferi kind of has to go. But if it's just if it's just galvanic discharges, dress downs, perhaps I guess dress down isn't amazing into Teferi either because if you cast on your main phase, it will sacrifice on your end step.
Right.
But like there are definitely some hands that don't care as much about Teferi. It looks like it's going down here.
Yeah, Leyline Binding says, get out of here, Teferi. Ting Fen passes back. 2 mana available, dress down in hand. And I believe it's looking his cards pretty quickly. I think I maybe saw a Flage in there. We'll check back on that in a minute. Meanwhile, we're back up to Will, who has Sun Cleanser is fetching, I think.
I think he was looking for his sideboard, trying to remember exactly what he sided in.
Ah,
Maybe figuring out like if he has a certain chord target. Looks like 2
hmm.
walls of roots in hand, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah, that's Dryad Arbor, 2 Walls of Roots, and mystery green card in the back.
Yeah, it looks like
Mm.
not too much action going on, though a decent amount of mana from Will, and we see the turn passed.
Okay.
And
Alright.
Will can chord with all of his lands tapping for green because of Yapamaya. So looks like that might be what's being set up here. Chord for 1.
Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be upkeep chord for 1, plays around the Force of Negation. Ting Feng, I think it looks like attune the narrative, I think.
There's no double blue on Ting Fen's side either, right? I think that's an Indatha Triumph that Ting
Yes,
Fen
you're
fetched
right.
for the Leyline Binding, so not much interaction possible for this chord.
Okay, and it's gonna resolve. Will Kruger gets the chord of calling, finds Haywire Might, so that Leyline Binding may not be long for this world.
I see, yes. Getting back the Teferi. Basically courting for Teferi with a bonus 2 life.
Not bad, not bad. And yeah, there was the counter spell, I think, in hand for Tingpen, but as you rightly pointed out, no double blue. There's Wrath of the Skies. No energy is allowed at this time. And I think there's Arena of Glory. Is that Fragmentize? No, that's.
I can't quite tell with some of these alt arts. I know
I
there's
think
no
it's
fragment.
expressive iteration. It's
Okay, yeah,
expressive
that makes sense.
iteration. Yeah.
Yep. Looking at a Null Drifter, a Xander's Lounge. Looks like gonna exile the Xander's Lounge and play it for turn, and put a Kuzlik's Return to the bottom.
Yeah, here is Xander's Lounge. That's the second blue source that Ting Peng needs. Doesn't, of course, come in untapped, but there's the Teferi coming back now in the end step. Will gains another 2 life, untaps, and both players. This is a little bit of a cagier game, right? Like the first one, we kind of saw Will dump everything out. Ting Fen answered it all, bish bash bosh, and we're on to game number 2. And now, post board, both of these players really dancing around each other. Will trying to set up this Teferi as protection. And
Yeah,
who does this favor, Jason?
yeah. So this is definitely something you see out of happening out of Nadu post board a lot against Jeskai, where if you notice, while Will was looking through his sideboard, there was actually at least one copy of Urza Saga in there. Nadu generally sides out Urza Sagas against Jeskai, going a bit less turbo, but a bit less vulnerable to Wrath of the Skies. Looking to play just a slower game, still with this powerful threat of A plus B combo, Shuko plus Nadu, but also able to like play these longer games, interacting back with cards like Teferi, with cards like Spell Pierce, which I think I saw will draw either for turn or off of Teferi.
Can I just say, by the way, Shuko is on his plan B mode. Just giving Sun Cleanse a +1/+0, getting in. Here's Cosmic's return from Ting Feng. That's just gonna take out a Dryad Arbor.
Stone
A
Rain.
little bit of, yeah, nice little Stone Rain from Ting Feng. Back over now, dressed out in hand, but Teferi on the battlefield means that Will Kruger gets basically do whatever he wants right now, and it turns out whatever he wants to do is 2 damage to the face.
Looks like Will is just very slowly committing one thing at a time, never overextending too much of a board in fear of Sun Cleanser being removed into Wrath of the Skies being deployed. But also potentially just like doesn't have all that much to play with himself.
Okay, so we're gonna see Null Drifter evoked. Oh, does the evoke on Null Drifter get Cossacks return back?
Yes, you are casting a Eldrazi creature spell with converted mana 7 or greater, with
Oh my
mana value 7 or
goodness.
greater. So yeah,
That's
4 damage or 5 damage
incredible.
to everything.
But that's incredible. That interaction is insane to me. And then yeah, draw those cards. It's gonna do 5 damage to each creature.
And it looks like Ting Feng's not gonna use a dress down in order to keep around the Null Drifter when it enters, though it looks like he just wants to keep up more mana.
Yeah, I like this. Let it go. Keep up the. There it is. Shock Steam Vents. That's going to be double blue available for counterspell. Nope, it's going to be use that blue to tune the narrative. Start getting the energy going.
Oh, I guess there
Back
is a
over
Teferi in
to
play,
well.
so
Oh, you're right.
yeah, can't counterspell or flash in dress down either way.
Gotcha. Okay. Wolverine comes down. May as well put the Shuko on it.
The fearsome 1/5.
I
Ragavans
mean,
beware.
yeah, I don't see Ting like beating a 1/5 right now. You know, like I'm no expert, but Ting it does have that control player thing. It has so much stuff in hand. It does have to try and answer the Teferi at some point, presumably. Wrath of the Skies doesn't really help with that. Counterspell doesn't really help with that. These two dress do you just actually cycle a dress down in your main phase at some point?
Yeah, one thing Ting can do is play Dress Down, Sorcery Speed, and then play Null Drifter right after. What is this just a Wrath of the
Okay.
Skies to gain like 4 energy and kill Wall of Roots Shuko? I guess that's pretty good.
I think so. I guess it's also a trade with Spell Pierce.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ting Feng a bit greedy with how much he paid into that. Obviously, didn't need to pay the full X equals 4, but of course, like presumably the reasoning is, well, I don't need to keep my mana up anyways. There's this Teferi in play, but unfortunately, runs right into the Spell Pierce.
Okay, and Will, you can see the cheeky grin there. He knows he got away with something. Love to see the players joking, having a bit of a laugh, and keeping it all in good natured.
I assume this is some form of Nadu kept on top from the Surveil land, or something good at least.
Some form of Nadu. Is it? And I would just think Nadu as like an anime character with the final form and the ultra final form, and the One Ring comes down.
If you think about it, the One Ring is some form of Nadu. It draws a lot of cards, you know.
Okay, Jason, never let Jason name things or categorize things, I guess. Like, taxonomy, not your strong suit.
Categories are fake.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, like on a philosophical level, I don't disagree with you. Ting Feng went on 8 life, having taken some damage from that Sun Cleanser plus Shuko combo. Loosely using the word combo there.
Yeah, it's really funny how like, Shuko looks so unassuming. It's just +1/+0. How much could that do? And then suddenly your opponent's just at 8 from a 1/4 attacking.
That's true. Let's see what Ting Feng can find here. Teferi is still on the battlefield. Has another Null Drifter could just play that out. Just exert the arena, right?
Yeah, you can play an attack with Null Drifter here. It doesn't do any damage. Well, you can actually kill the Teferi.
You can kill Teferi. That's not nothing.
And it will trigger Annihilator.
I don't hate it. Like, honestly, what else does Sigma have going on? Okay.
Looks like we're gonna.
All right.
We're gonna scam this Null Drifter instead. First putting Dress Down in play, and then exerting the arena to evoke this Null Drifter. So it won't come in with the evoke ability. I forget if it comes in with haste. I don't actually remember how exactly Dress Down's worded.
Yeah, it seems like a layers thing.
Okay, well, regardless, it looks like the plan is actually to Wrath of the Skies to clear your own Dress Down. So now it definitely has haste.
Okay. Does it have haste? Didn't Ting Feng do the
looks like they're calling a judge.
Yeah, because it seems like Ting Feng did the evoke first, so that Dress Down going away doesn't necessarily mean that the Null Drifter gets haste now, right?
I am like 95% sure it has haste, because like, yeah, the only thing the Dress Down says is like, while it's in play, creatures can't have creatures lose abilities, right? But like, losing abilities doesn't mean like you can't gain abilities. It means that like I'm pretty sure.
Are you sure?
Okay, I'm only 95% sure, which is not 100%.
Okay.
And the judges, they're talking to a judge right now to confirm. And I would definitely trust what the judge says over what I am coming up right now. The judge probably is going to be digging into rules references for this.
Because this is like next level. Like this is 5-head play from Ting Fen if it works, right? Because what the problem here is Ting Fen went dress down first, sorcery speed, right? Draw a card. Then exert Arena of Glory, play the Null Drifter with Evoke. So if the dress down wasn't there, the Null Drifter certainly would come down and gain haste. But because of the dress down is countering the Evoke, not countering the Evoke trigger, but the Evoke just doesn't happen. There's no Evoke ability. And then, but now Ting Fen's saying, does it gain haste in a way so that when this dress down goes away, it has haste, right? And I guess the answer is no, since we did not see this Null Drifter attack.
Someone in chat is saying that it's possible Ting Fen, the problem was not whether or not Null Drifter had haste, but whether or not Ting Fen announced using Arena. So that might actually be the real problem here, because I do think that the Null Drifter, like, it's possible even I think that the Null Drifter like would have haste without the dress down being gone. But certainly if you didn't announce using the Arena, then it definitely won't have haste.
Okay, all right. So maybe that's the question. We don't really know, of course. We're sat at home. The players are down in LA with the judges. We're going to go on to the next turn. It's Will's turn. The One Ring is on 2, so Will I took, I believe, 1 damage there in the upkeep with the ring, and now is kind of getting the card draw going. This is kind of what you were talking about earlier when we were discussing sideboarding. The Walls of Roots are back. And
the fearsome 0/5s. No Shuko to make them 1/5s. Okay, yeah, no and we see the Arena untapped.
Okay, all right. Oh, look at this! Upkeep Beseiju your Arena. This is great. Love to see this happen. Team face. Okay, all right. I've got to go. I'll get a card with a land type. A land with a card with a land type. A land with a type. Can be anything. Having a look. And Team Fan really does have access to all the mana that he needs.
A really interesting game. Lots of back and forth. Ting Fen has a lot of mana and like some number of cards. We know there's the Null Drifter, which will draw another 2. But Will does have a ring going, which is very good in this matchup, certainly. So Ting Fen really wants to find like Leyline Binding or something like that to answer the ring pretty soon.
All right. So let's see what Ting Fen found. I mean, Ting Fen also has, by the way, that Null Drifter, right? Because what Will did was bounce it with the Teferi and then upkeep, get rid of the Arena.
Yeah.
And so now Ting Fen can just replay the Null Drifter. Here comes Dress Down.
It looks like another scammed Null Drifter in order to save a couple mana and cycle away the Stress Down, which is not all that useful with Teferi in play, except for this exact purpose.
But does saving, I mean, but you don't get the cards, right? Oh no, you
no,
get
it's
the
a cast trigger. Yeah,
it's unlike, a cast trigger.
Yeah, Mole Drifter, like original Mole Drifter, is an ECB ability for both the Evoke and the Draw 2. But Null Drifter works with Dress Down because you draw 2 on cast, and then the Evoke ability is an ETB, so it will be blanked by the Dress Down. It won't sacrifice. So for 5 mana total instead of 7, you get your Null Drifter with full value, or in this case, 8 mana for 2 Null Drifter, which is a pretty good deal.
Really sweet. The second Null Drifter, oh, love to see it. Okay, and Ting Fen has just the 1 mana left. It's going to be Tune the Narrative. Why not draw another card, get a little bit of energy going? Has a pair of 4/4s. Will Kruger with 1 ring active, Teferi active, gets to untap. Has the die on the deck to remind him of that upkeep trigger. Oh, I see Wrath of the Sky. I see Flage for Ting Fen. I mean, Ting Fen has just so many cards.
I mean,
so many cards.
2 4/4 Annihilators in the full grip of hands is impressive, But Will does get to draw 3 cards towards his combo here. And with Teferi in play, he knows it's safe. So if he
All
finds
right.
it, well, there's a Nadu at
It's
least. Did I see
it's
a
one ring
Woodland?
to find them for Will Kruger. Nadu in the hand. I think there was a woodland also. I'm not gonna promise you that, but we need to figure out because there needs to be because Will needs to also make a Shuko somehow, right?
I think there's a Shuko in the graveyard from when they got Wrath. So this Shifting
Right.
Woodland could be a copy of that. There's a lot of cards in the graveyard, so I assume there's Delirium. Um,
Okay, it's gonna be Nantuko first. Yep, there's the
yep,
woodland. Oh, and here we go.
yep. There's the Shuko, and yeah, it looks like Delirium to me.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's as I can see it. Let's just go to game three. Let's save some time here.
Yeah, always love to see that.
Oh,
And
it's
looks like
interesting, right? Because there was that turn with the arena, Jason, and Ding Ping didn't manage to get that haste and kill Teferi, but did it matter in the end?
yeah, I mean, if in fact Arena works that way and would have given haste if Ting Heng had announced it, um, then that would have been pretty impactful to kill the Teferi, right? Because like the Teferi then down ticked, which represented another card, which may have been like the third card, the like maybe it was the Shifting Woodland, for example, that Will drew as his last card. It would have
Hmm.
represented the ability for Ting Feng to perhaps hold up interaction. Like maybe instead of going for the second Null Drifter, he could have held up some removal spell and not died. But
Right.
yeah,
Interesting. Okay. Well, we're going back to a clean slate now. Players are shuffling up for game number 3. Love to see lots of game 3s on coverage. I mean, it's one of those things, Jason, where in the booth we always want to see game 3s, but if you're sat at the desk at the feature match area, and Jason, you could probably attest to this, you probably want to get it done.
well, I mean, it depends on which side you're on, right? I'm sure Will is enthused after losing game 1 to now
Hmm,
be playing a game 3, certainly.
that's very fair. That is very fair. All right. So let's see what the players are up to here in game number 3. Just going to give them a little bit of time to do their shuffling to make sure everything is peachy, just like Ting Fang's awesome sleeves for game number 3. And just that I say that, throws his cards everywhere. Not discuss what happened there, but let's go. Jason, game 3, these two players, they're gonna try and get this done, trying to like finish it out here. For Nadu, like, what's your ideal opening hand against control?
Well, I mean, it depends a bit on the build. With Will's build, this is playing halflings and wall of roots instead of grazers. Like I do generally want to have something to play on turn 1. Obviously, if you're on the play or on the draw. Um, though halfling isn't the best card against control because they can just remove it. Though it does help your Nadu beat counter spells.
Hmm.
But the big thing is just having both pieces of Nadu and Shuko. The like 1-drop accelerants are great and they're nice to have, but the big thing is having the combo and having ways to like play a long game. Right? I don't want my hand necessarily to be all in. Right? I don't want it to be like only mana sources and then Nadu Shuko. That is
Right.
going to get taken apart by control pretty often. Instead, like I want, Spell Pierce to fight stuff, to Fairy, which I think I just saw in Will's hand. I also saw the Nadu.
Yeah.
Or perhaps even the One Ring, of course, is pretty excellent. And I think I see a copy there. So this looks like a pretty good hand from Will Kruger.
Yeah, just the 2 lands, but does have the turn 1 halfling, has a second halfling in hand as well as Urza's Saga. So Will's hand is looking really sweet here for Ting Feng, who just fetched. I think we see Expressive Iteration, we see Dress Down, Reprieve is in hand, surveils that leyline binding into the bin, has to tune the narrative as well. It's just making sure everything is going as you would want. And let's see. what Will decides to do here, it's turn number 3. Urza Saga comes down, and it's going to be Teferi to lead off with.
Ooh, uncounterable, but still can be reprieved.
Oh, love to see that. Reprieve, I mean, just, oh,
Remand would
honestly,
never.
love this card. Remind would never. And everyone, there's a lot of people love moaning about Lord of the Rings and Universe Beyond, but I am a huge Tolkien fan. I love Lord of the Rings. I love the Lord of the Rings cards, and Reprieve, just such an awesome card, like depicting a really sweet, like cool moment from the books that I will not go on about, but I will tell you is really meaningful. And Ting Fang Wang, mana problems yet again. No third land drop, it looks like, but plenty of cantrips to find one.
I assume Expressive would be is a pretty likely choice here, as a card that can, famously hit your third land drop on turn 3, and while also drawing you a card for the future. Though he might not want to tap out. Also, there is the threat of Nadu coming down.
How bad is it for Ting Fang if he taps out?
Well, he has to imagine like Will kept this hand. There's a Saga on the table. There might just be a Nadu in hand, and if there's a Nadu in hand and he another land plus a Shuko, that's the combo right there. So that's the worst case. But also there's Teferi in hand. Remember, right? Like Ting Fang now knows there's a Teferi. So tapping out also means letting the Teferi resolve, though admittedly, with the halfling, it's pretty hard for that to for Ting Feng to interact with Teferi, anyways.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so Lorien revealed was in hand. So Ting Fang does actually have a way to guarantee getting the land. Shocks that in. Has Dress Down available still. Should he decide to pass back. And that's that feels a little bit safer, Jason, than going for the tuna narrative.
Yeah, it's a bit safer, but it also like puts a bit more pressure on you next turn, right? But now next turn you don't necessarily have a land drop, but you do. I think there were 2 tunes in hand. Both you can cycle towards a land. But like the really scary thing about Ting Feng's hand is he doesn't really have a Wrath of the Skies yet. He doesn't really have a way to deal with this halfling either, which means he doesn't have a way to counter this Teferi or the Nadu. So slowly these like lock pieces kind of on Will's side are assembling, like this Teferi, this halfling, right? And Ting Feng really needs to find an answer instead of just these blank cantrips.
So yeah, Ting Fang looks like cantripping, making energy. I think there was a null drifter was found there in hand. It did not look like he found a land, and we did see a little shake of the head, so I do wonder if it was not successful in the search for another mana source, but we will find out when it gets back to his turn. And Will, meanwhile, goes down with Teferi.
A really interesting and potentially pretty smart play, especially if he already has a Shuko in hand. Just not exposing that Urza Saga to either Wrath of the Skies or just like sacrificing itself next turn, developing a more permanent mana base. Really interesting play.
Yeah, that was pretty unexpected, but very sweet there for Will, recognizing that he doesn't actually want to expose that, and gets another green source, can play out the halfling anyway. And I'm gonna go back over to Ting Feng's turn. Let's see what
I
he has
really
going.
like that play. That is actually really nice because now, if Ting Feng doesn't Wrath, then on Will's turn he gets to just slam down the ring and continue just like building up resources. And if he does Wrath, well, now Will only loses 2 halflings, which isn't all that bad in the face of things.
Right. And like Ting Feng is kind of forced to Wrath here, right? Didn't find the third mana source and just cannot let Will kind of get too far out of control. And meanwhile, Will plays out that Saga again, has Nadu, still has the ring. And
Two
this is,
copies of Nadu. So this is a backup,
yeah,
or there is a backup.
okay. All right, let's see whether Ting Feng finds step one a land. Doesn't find a land, but does have the evoke Kozilek's return combo. Let's see whether
Okay,
you found
somewhat.
a source here. Okay. All right. So
So
the
you can
pace of play is
really
slowing down a little bit.
Yeah, you can really feel how like yes, Tingfang has been able to answer all of the cards that Will has been playing, except for this Teferi, right? Like Reprieve on the first Teferi cast, and then wrathing away both halflings, and then killing the Nadu with the other half of Kozilek's return. But it's really all like Tingfang is tapping out every single turn to answer Will's cards, not even necessarily like at an advantage. And like Will is
Hmm.
really in control of the narrative of this game so far. And Tingfeng needs to find a way to take back control somehow.
Well, it's going to start with. I mean, the One Ring is going to start doing things here for Will Kruger. There's protection for this turn. That one doesn't matter so much. His iteration. And Wrath of the Sky as well, it does a great job of cleaning up other things. One Ring is indestructible.
And Teferi is a planeswalker, so also does not get hit by Wrath of the Skies.
Yeah, not great for him, but does Leyline Binding. That is an answer to both the One Ring and Teferi, and it's going to just. Tingman says this one is a bigger threat.
Yeah, though in a couple turns, this Teferi can tick down on the leyline binding for another card draw from the One Ring.
Ugh. Ugh. Hate that. Here's Shuko.
Yeah, and with Teferi in play, Nadu in hand, this is just a very clean combo threat here with the second Nadu in hand. Oh, and
Okay, the
even
one
even with Nantuko, nice.
right, because there was the one mana floating. Okay, here's the Nadu. Here we go. Let's get the conveyor belt going. So let's see what Will can find here. Start off with a saga. Oh, is that a scoop?
Yep, looks like
Yeah.
a scoop.
Okay, Will Kruger, Bant Nadu. He's going to be advancing to 5-1. Just needs one more win to lock up that day 2 slot. And Ting Fang Wan fought the good fight with Jeskai control. A little bit stuck on mana there in game number 3, not able to close it out. Is going to be at, I believe, 4-1-1. So still has to get a couple of wins in the last couple of rounds. And Jason, Bant Nadu, still doing it.
Yeah, really respects the life equity there from Ting Fang scooping up the match. Like there is technically a small amount of fizzle chance, but realistically, even if Will fizzled there, he would have drawn enough cards that it really doesn't matter. There's no way that Ting Fang can get back in that game.
Right.
And yeah,
Yeah,
really
and
showing the power of Nadu.
yeah, and Ting Fang knew it was up, right? Like without the Spring Heart on the battlefield, it's still, it's still very much live. But when he saw that come down and then the Nadu, he's like, yeah, I'm done here. Let's go have lunch. And uh it's gonna be Will Kruger with Bant Nadu winning in round number 6. So we are gonna go, I believe, to a break, and I think we're gonna go actually into round number 7 when we come back. No backup magic this round. So we're gonna go for a few minutes at round number 7 after this. So we're gonna start seeing people lock up their day 2 slots. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back.